all women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children, men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts: the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, and the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendus 8. The Death of Merit: How Cultural Marxism Hijacked Education and Society, written by Conrad Riker. Available now, links in description. The Chronos Tax: A field guide for men who still notice reality. I see you. You are the man who lays the brick, wires the grid, and writes the code, only to be told by a room full of critical theory parasites that your competence is an oppressive construct. You have been robbed, and the thief didn't even have the decency to wear a mask. They champion the abolition of whiteness, which translated from their Marxist gobbledygook simply means the systemic dismantling of the competent male builder. Let us define our terms, as grammar demands before logic can begin. Merit comes from the Latin merere, to earn, to deserve. Equity is the demand for unearned spoils. They want the pilot's seat handed to a diversity hire simply because she possesses the correct grievances. A society that mocks the architect will soon live in the rubble of his abandoned cathedral, and the physical universe will not care about her lived experience when the power grid fails. This parasitic revolution is not merely institutional, it is intimately personal. Consider the ubiquitous modern woman who arrives 45 minutes late to your date, offering zero apology, expecting you to smile, pay the bill, and express gratitude for her irradiated presence. She is not merely disorganized, she is executing a tactical solipsistic power play, a literal Chronos tax to measure exactly how much indignity you will swallow. Time is the ultimate non-renewable resource. It is the currency of your finite life. By stealing your minutes to inflate her ego, she enacts a predatory extraction. If your boss scheduled a meeting and you strolled in 45 minutes late without a word, you would be fired. Why do you reward this female entitlement with your resources? He who tolerates the theft of his minutes invites the plunder of his years. And what happens when your perfectly rational, masculine mind identifies this disrespect? What happens when you dare to speak the unvarnished truth about her behavior to your peers? The feminine imperative instantly weaponizes therapy speak against you. She projects her own chaotic, SSRI-fueled mood swings onto you, questioning if you are emotionally stable or accusing you of being two-faced for seeking counsel from your brothers. It is a satanic double bind. If you stay silent, you are bottling up. If you vent your frustration to your friends, you are toxic. If you speak facts to her, you are unstable. They demand you be hardened enough to fight bears and pay their debts, yet soft enough to never notice their deceit. The modern psychological establishment is a secular inquisition designed to diagnose your sanity, so they never have to answer for their own cruelty. Look at the rotten fruit of this gynocentric compact. Men comprise over 70% of suicides, over 90% of workplace deaths, and the vast majority of the homeless, yet the culture offers no state apparatus to save them. Instead, we are subjected to sadistic schadenfreude. We live in a society that sells coffee mugs mocking male tears while the family court abattoir severs your bond with your children to subsidize the strong, independent lifestyle of your ex-wife. You are bleeding out on the pavement of a world built entirely by your forefathers, and the feminist state points and laughs, blaming your agony on your fragility. It is time to stop asking for compassion from a civilization that worships your destruction. You must break the spell of their lies, withdraw your consent from the rigged game, and reclaim your sacred masculine logos. The Gramsci guillotine, deconstructing the builders, and the abolition of merit. I once knew a master electrician, a man whose hands were calloused by copper and whose mind was a flawless schematic of the physical world. To suggest equity in wiring to him was a terrifying delusion. Reality does not care about your lived experience, it only cares if the circuit is grounded. We derive merit from the Latin merere, meaning to earn or to deserve. Objective merit is the good made practical, a mechanism of supreme justice that judges a man strictly by his fruits. Contrast this with Marxist equity, a parasitic morality that demands equal outcomes regardless of input, labor, or virtue. To abolish merit is the civilizational equivalent of burning seed corn despite the harvest, giving the pilot's seat to a man afraid of heights simply because he feels he deserves a turn. Consider the historical trajectory of the AS-VAB and SAT. Originally engineered as pure objective meritocracies, these tests were designed to smash the old boys network by identifying raw, undeniable competence. Today, cultural Marxists weaponize them because objective measurement itself exposes the lie of intellectual sameness. When any disparity in outcome is automatically deemed proof of systemic oppression, their ideology becomes immune to empirical reality, turning logic into a thought crime. They deploy a cowardly Moat and Bailey tactic, retreating to the mild moat of we just want fairness when attacked, but sacking the Bailey of we must abolish objective standards and the builders themselves when unchecked. They rely on the base rate neglect fallacy, completely ignoring the disparate inputs of risk, time, and labor that men contribute to society. You must force the debate onto the terrain of competence, cost, and consequence. Apply a syllogistic refutation to their entire worldview. Major premise: civilization requires competence to maintain its infrastructure. Minor premise: cultural Marxism defines competence as an oppressive construct to be dismantled. Conclusion: cultural Marxism inherently seeks civilizational collapse. If you doubt this, run the hidden cost ledger of the DEI bureaucracy. When standards are lowered to accommodate equity, the invisible cost is human lives, collapsing bridges, botched surgeries, failing electrical grids. Consider the absurd hypocrisy of the utopian leftist who denounces Western civilization, merit, and capitalism on an iPhone over Wi-Fi, wearing mass-produced clothing. Every single artifact of their grievance is the pure, distilled product of male competence and merit. If you steelman their primary argument that capitalism exploits labor, their logical collapse is still inevitable. The free exchange of labor for capital is a reciprocal covenant. Marxist equity extracts labor by force to subsidize the unproductive bureaucratic class. The cultural Marxist telos is not the uplift of the marginalized. Look closely at theories like the abolition of whiteness. Their ultimate goal is the systemic dismantling of the competent male builder class. This ideology is entirely parasitic. It cannot build power grids, sewer systems, or aqueducts, so it subverts the institutions that govern them, disguising its theft as social justice. By auditing their oppressor-oppressed dichotomy, you expose a framework that depends entirely on collective guilt and weaponized resentment. Apply the scale and asymmetry test to their policies. If equity doctrines are universally good, why do the elites bypass them? Why do politicians mandate failing, equitable public schools for the working class while sending their own children to rigorous, elite academies? The tragedy is they ignore Chesterton's fence. The traditions of merit, standardized testing, and apprenticeships were not built by accident. They are survival technologies forged in the unforgiving fires of reality. Tearing them down out of resentment invites civilizational ruin. Run the 50-year fruit test on the modern university. Decades of Marxist capture have transformed these bastions of classical grammar, logic, and rhetoric into sterile, bureaucratic victimhood factories producing neither saints nor engineers, but anxious compliance officers. We must restore the classical understanding that hierarchy is the organizing principle of reality. The cosmos, the cathedral, and the military all require rank based on competence, not feelings. It is time to champion the classical apprenticeship mastery ladder. From apprentice to journeyman to master, to transmit hard-won truth to the next generation, bypassing the modern credentialist scam. The abolition of merit is a spiritual revolt against the logos, the ordering principle of the universe itself. Men of the West must aggressively refuse the egalitarian lie, embrace their natural thumos, and rebuild the parallel institutions of competence. Never forget the maxim of the builder: a society that mocks the architect will soon live in the rubble of his abandoned cathedral. But I do not merely speak of grand institutions when I warn you of this rot. I'm talking about the microscopic daily interactions where this anti-logos pathology actually begins its assault on the masculine spirit. The exact same feminist entitlement that plunders our civilization to fund its bureaucratic bloat cloaks itself in a well-appearing facade of modern female independence to steal your most precious, non-renewable resource at the dinner table. We must stop tolerating these gynocentric micro-tyrannies and begin auditing the modern dating market with the exact same brutal, surgical logic we use to dismantle the university. The Chronos tax, gynocentric entitlement, and the assault on masculine boundaries. Consider the ubiquitous modern dating archetype. She arrives 45 minutes late, offers zero apology, and expects you to pay the bill while expressing gratitude for her presence. Apply the logical apparatus of the trivium to this absurd charade. First, grammar. Punctuality derives from the Latin punctus, a point, a fixed objective mark in reality. Punctuality is not merely good manners. It is a profound moral act of respecting the finite nature of time and acknowledging another person's sovereign agency. Second, logic. Unrepentant tardiness equals disrespect. Third, rhetoric. Deliver the consequence by standing up and walking out of the restaurant. When a woman carelessly wastes your time, she is literally extracting a tax from your finite lifespan to inflate her own ego. We must expose this 45-minute late arrival for what it actually is: a tactical shit test. It is a deliberate, solipsistic power play designed by the feminine imperative to measure exactly how much indignity you will tolerate to access female company. Deconstruct her typical rationalization: you're just too rigid. Time is a social construct. This is classic nominalism, a cowardly attempt to dissolve objective reality to excuse personal vice. In the anti-logos worldview of modern therapy culture, taking accountability for stealing a man's time is reclassified as an attack on her autonomy, or worse, reframed as glamorous self-care. If a farmer, a builder, or an erector of cities operated on lived experience over the clock, civilization would starve. Reality does not care about her feelings. Apply the asymmetric empathy test of the gamma bias. If a man makes a woman wait 45 minutes without a text, he is universally condemned as a narcissistic abuser. When a woman does it, society demands he be patient and understand she is busy. Observe the corporate HR parallel. The exact same woman who is 45 minutes late to a date will weaponize human resources if a male colleague is 5 minutes late to a synergy meeting, citing systemic disrespect. She enforces rigid timelines when they serve her career, yet demands fluid, boundless forgiveness when evaluating her own interpersonal cruelty. This institutional double standard reveals the entire gynocentric order as an economy of counterfeit currency. Why does she feel entitled to such profound rudeness? The welfare state, the corporate diversity quota, and the family court system have entirely removed the natural, historical consequences of female dishonesty and incompetence. The state acts as a substitute husband, extracting male tax dollars to subsidize her choices. We must shift the epistemological frame. It is not your job to prove she is acting maliciously by being late. The objective reality of her tardiness is the evidence. Acta non verba, actions, not words. Her behavior is a spiritual usury. Just as a corrupt financial institution extracts usurious interest from a borrower through hidden fees, the entitled female extracts emotional usury through manufactured waiting, keeping you in a state of suspended anxiety. Time is the ultimate non-renewable resource. It is the literal currency of a man's life. Consider the syllogism of respect. Major premise: reciprocity is the foundation of any just covenant. Minor premise: unapologetic tardiness is a unilateral violation of agreed-upon boundaries. Conclusion: a woman who chronically disrespects a man's time is incapable of participating in a reciprocal covenant. True justice requires the equitable exchange of value. Yet the modern dating market drastically overvalues female presence while treating male provision as an entitlement. She demands the benefits of the patriarchal ledger, your money, your protection, your meal, while demanding you subsidize her chaotic disrespect. Expose the tragicomic enabler, the blue-pilled man who smiles, buys her a drink, and pretends her tardiness is cute, is actively rewarding betrayal. He is funding his own disposability. Stillman her argument before annihilating it. She claims, "I want a man who is easygoing." The refutation is absolute. Tolerance of disrespect is not easygoing. It is cowardice masquerading as virtue. A strong man is easygoing about the weather, not about his dignity. To tolerate the theft of your minutes invites the plunder of your years. A woman who treats your time as worthless has already declared her estimate of your worth. To wait for her is to agree with her appraisal. Consult the cardinal virtue of prudence. A prudent man does not invest his capital, time, money, emotional energy into a venture whose very first transaction is a defaulted debt. Implement the 15-minute rule as a definitive practice. If she is unapologetically 15 minutes late, leave. Do not text, do not argue. Allow the absence of your presence to be the ultimate dialectical argument. Advocate for the total withdrawal of male utility from women who fail basic civilizational tests. Your time belongs to your mission, your brothers, and your God, not to a woman testing your boundaries. This same imperative that treats your time as worthless will, without a breath, diagnose your objection as a psychological defect. The mechanism is breathtaking in its simplicity. Redefine sanity to mean compliance with feminine emotion, then brand every man who notices the switch as unstable. I have watched this therapeutic membrane spread over every institution where men once reasoned freely, engulfing the workplace, the home, the counsel between brothers, until ordinary male speech becomes a billable diagnosis. Before they confiscate your mind, they must first steal the dictionary. The Therapeutic Inquisition, weaponizing psychology to enslave the masculine logos. I recently watched a competent male engineer get dragged into the HR panopticon for the high crime of correcting a female colleague's defective math. He didn't raise his voice. He simply pointed out that 2 + 2 does not equal 5. Within hours, he was referred to mandatory sensitivity training to cure his toxicity. This is the Therapeutic Inquisition. The gynocentric regime has stripped logic from the workplace, replacing it with a secular church where hurt feelings constitute heresy. Apply the trivium, and you see the trick. They equivocate between objective harm and subjective offense. A man speaking facts causes her offense, but no objective harm. Yet, the weaponization of therapy speak, where every boundary is gaslighting and every disagreement is narcissism, inflicts real, measurable damage on male careers. Words no longer name reality. They serve as cudgels to end debates women are losing. Consider the Frankenstein's monster of modern female projection. She demands a man calloused enough to fight bears, defend the homestead, and fund her lifestyle, yet sensitive enough to weep at detergent commercials and ignore her glaring flaws. This double-bind strategy is a psychological meat grinder. If a man stays silent, he is bottling up. If he vents to his friends, he is two-faced. If he speaks his frustration to her, he is deemed emotionally unstable. It is a classic Kafka trap, an inescapable web of pathological framing designed to enslave the masculine logos. When men actually fall for the propaganda and show vulnerability, they are met with the sadistic schadenfreude of feminists, literally selling male tears mugs. He who allows his enemy to define his sanity has already committed intellectual suicide. You cannot win a rigged game. Your only option is to shatter the board. Let us ruthlessly define our terms. In the classical tradition, emotional stability is a cardinal virtue governed by reason, the stoic mastery of passion under the rulership of the intellect. The modern feminized definition, however, is a compliant, uncomplaining utility object who never rocks the boat. When a man brings his passions under logos, he achieves the zenith of human psychology, yet this is pathologized as repression. The irony is staggering. The modern woman, artificially stabilized by SSRIs, hormonal birth control, and TikTok dopamine loops, projects her own emotional chaos onto the stoic male. When he points out a logical inconsistency or a boundary violation, the feminine imperative bypasses the argument entirely, deploying the ad hominem fallacy. Why are you so angry? She attacks his mental state because she cannot defeat his premise. Examine the demand that a man never speak of his relationship troubles, a gynocentric trap designed to isolate him from his peers. The syllogism of this two-faced standard is irrefutable. Venting frustration to peers is a necessary psychological pressure valve. Women are universally celebrated for venting to their peers. Yet men who do so are deemed abusive. Therefore, the standard exists solely to police male speech. When she accuses him of betrayal for talking to his brothers, deploy the Socratic counterattack. Are you telling me you have never discussed my behavior with your group chat? If speaking about our relationship is a crime, why am I the only one on trial? This behind her back fallacy cuts the man off from the natural counsel of his peers, rendering him easier to dominate and subjugate. Contrast this feminine demand for absolute secrecy with the Catholic cosmology of speech. Historically, speaking your sins, struggles, and frustrations to a father or brother in the sacrament of confession was the ultimate path to healing. Secrecy breeds pathology. Brotherhood breeds virtue. Furthermore, we must distinguish the dialectic of female gossip from male peer counseling. Male discourse seeks solutions, boundaries, and philosophical understanding. Female group chats, by contrast, operate as grievance escalation chambers designed to rationalize bad behavior and validate solipsism. When a man speaks facts about a woman's behavior to his friends, he is not gossiping. He is reality testing with his peers to ensure the transcendental of truth remains intact. He is seeking the objective logos over her subjective, unfalsifiable truth. Run the fruit test on our modern therapeutic culture. Does it produce strong men, stable marriages, and growing families? No. It produces perpetual victims, broken homes, and a generation of men medicated into apathetic compliance. Look at the nice guy who completely conforms to this feminine frame, never complaining, constantly seeking counsel, and agreeing with her every shifting mood. He is universally disdained by women, who secretly despise the very weak compliance they demand. Women want the obedience of a lapdog and the danger of a wolf, an evolutionary impossibility that defies natural law. The harvest of this therapy speak is rotten to the core, leaving men betrayed by a genocentric system that demands their silence as they pay the bills. You must unapologetically reclaim your right to discuss your life without the feminine imperative's permission. The practice rule for the red-pilled man is simple. Reject the therapeutic labels. Speak the truth plainly to your brothers. When accused of being unstable or toxic, calmly state your logical premises and refuse to answer to the secular inquisition of the therapist's couch. Do not negotiate with psychological terrorists who use clinical language as a weapon. Build your brotherhood, anchor your mind in the canon of Western civilization, and let the logos govern your speech. Reality does not care about her feelings, and neither should you. I understand precisely why the genocentric state and its institutional enforcers seek to contain your rightful anger. Smothering your logical dissent beneath a thick layer of therapeutic jargon, like a regulatory sleeve fitted tightly around a volatile core. They desperately need to muzzle your objective observations because the sheer scale of their parasitic betrayal is staggering, demanding a relentless barrage of utopian lies to keep the machinery of male extraction running smoothly. If you strip away their manufactured illusion of equity and inspect the unvarnished gears of human survival, the reality of our expendability becomes undeniable. The scorched earth of male disposability, schadenfreude, and the death of compassion. History is a slaughterhouse of male bones. I want you to accept this Schopenhauerian red pill. Male disposability is a brutal biological reality our ancestors embraced, because their sacrifice purchased authority, respect, and a legacy. The grand tragedy of our age is the gynocentric betrayal. Modern women demand the historical provision of men while stripping away all corresponding male authority. We are force-fed the Marxist fairy tale of an oppressive patriarchy, a lie completely disproven by every bridge you cross and every sewer line flushing your waste. Every watt of electricity and every paved road exists because men risked their lives in mines and on high steel. The supreme irony of the strong, independent woman is that she proudly proclaims her autonomy while breathing air scrubbed by male-engineered power grids. She is not independent. She is a parasite mistaking a host for a pedestal. This brings us to Schadenfreude, a brilliant German term fusing Schaden, damage, and Freude, joy. It perfectly captures the dominant emotional posture of our feminist state towards suffering men. We have apotheosized cruelty. Recall the grotesque 2011 episode of The Talk, where host Sharon Osbourne and a panel of women cackled with unrestrained glee over a man whose wife drugged him, tied him to a bed, and severed his penis. The studio crowd roared with laughter. Reverse the sexes, and the outrage would crash the internet, resulting in immediate firings and criminal investigations. The cultural transcendental of justice has been inverted. When mainstream media turns male genital mutilation into a punchline, we are not witnessing comedy. We are watching the death of compassion and the apotheosis of feminine cruelty, cheered on by a bloodthirsty mob. Behold the gamma bias of our modern infrastructure. When a woman sheds a tear, the state mobilizes a multi-billion-dollar apparatus to coddle her, while male destruction is ignored. Men comprise over 75% of suicides, 92% of workplace fatalities, and the vast majority of the homeless. If these numbers belong to women, the United Nations would declare a global emergency. Instead, if a man breaks down under this crushing weight, society weaponizes the thought-terminating cliché of fragile masculinity. This linguistic trick is a sickened version of reality. It is kicking a wounded man in the teeth and blaming his shattered jaw on his pride. A syllogism exposes this evil clearly. A society that mocks the psychological distress of its foundational. Load-bearing class hates its own foundation. Our media routinely mocks male despair. Therefore, our society actively seeks its own destruction. Nowhere is this sadism more institutionalized than in the family court abattoir, a bureaucratic meat grinder explicitly designed to extract male wealth and sever paternal bonds. This is the feminist Mott and Bailey deceit executed at terrifying scale. Their Mott is the innocent plea for equal rights. Their Bailey is a totalitarian demand for institutional control, demanding the power to ruin men in court while extracting their resources. A woman can unilaterally abort your child or divorce you on a whim, taking your house, your income, and your children, all subsidized by your tax dollars. What duty matches her right to your provision? What authority matches your responsibility to pay? The state has effectively become a substitute husband, enforcing female hypergamy at gunpoint. This is not a social contract. It is a rigged extortion racket where men are the designated scapegoats. Look at the cold, hard data of female nature they desperately censor. We live under a regime that applauds the chemical aborting of millions of unborn lives while arresting fathers for trying to protect their children. Consider the staggering rates of paternity fraud. Studies reveal that up to 10% of men are unknowingly raising children sired by other men. Yet, the family court demands you pay the fraudster, jailing you if you refuse. This proves the feminine imperative is not a romantic partnership, but a ruthless evolutionary mechanism devoid of reciprocal loyalty. The state is merely the enforcement arm of this predatory biological reality, shielding deceit while criminalizing male protest. To survive, you must shed your romantic naivety. Acknowledge the sword hanging over your neck, arm yourself with classical virtue, and refuse to lay your head willingly upon the block. Contrast this secular crucifixion with the sacred sacrifice of the masculine logos. Historically, male sacrifice, whether Christ on the cross or the soldier in the trench, was honored and rewarded with authority. Today, The feminist state nails a man to the cross of alimony, then points and laughs as he bleeds. A society that builds monuments to female grievance while paving its roads over the unmarked graves of disposable men has declared war on reality. It will not survive the winter. I urge you to apply a common sense test to this madness. Ask a farmer, if you beat your plow horse, starve it, and mock it when it collapses, will it plow your field tomorrow? Even a peasant understands incentives, yet the leftist ideologue denies basic economics. True love is willing the good of the other. The anti-generative left practices vampiric parasitism. This betrayal guarantees the historical inevitability of collapse. Trace the fall of Rome, when the feminine imperative replaces the masculine logos at the center of a culture. Luxury, decadence, and weakness inevitably follow, presaging a violent ruin. You cannot sustain a civilization that despises its own architects. I am telling you that the answer is the strategic withdrawal of consent. Stop playing a rigged game. Stop providing for those who despise you. Turn your energy inward toward your own virtus. Rebuild the remnants of Western civilization by ascending the mastery ladder. Build wealth that cannot be extracted by a corrupt judge. Forge brotherhoods that cannot be infiltrated by HR departments. Master your body and discipline your mind through the classical trivium. The closing maxim is simple. Mourn the betrayal briefly, then let it stoke the forge of your discipline. Look squarely at the feminist utopia burning itself to the ground through unpayable national debt, mass sterility, and pathetic cowardice. They have sterile wombs, 0 children, and mounting piles of antidepressants to numb the crushing loneliness of their choices. Let it burn. Step out of the way. I want you to look at the modern Babylon of woke, accept the hard truth, and simply walk away. Reclaim your agency, build your competence, and refuse to participate in your own exploitation. You are the load-bearing wall of reality. Stand firm. Speak truth without trembling, and remember the ultimate maxim of your survival. Do not ask for compassion from a civilization that worships your destruction. Build a new civilization where your sacrifice is honored by your brothers and your God. Consider the raw, unyielding ledger of reality. Right now, as you read this, men account for nearly 80% of all suicides and over 90% of all workplace fatalities. We are ground into dust to maintain the electrical grids, the sewer systems, the global supply chains, and the concrete foundations of a society that repays our sacrifice by manufacturing coffee mugs emblazoned with male tears. We are treated as a subjugated, ethereal class of beasts of burden, expected to bleed on the borders and pay the life-threatening toll of civilization. Yet we are swiftly alienated from our own children in a family court abattoir. This is a system where paternity fraud affects up to 10% of putative fathers, where a man's wealth is legally extracted at gunpoint to subsidize his own destruction, and where a woman's uncorroborated lived experience carries more juridical weight than a man's documented innocence. You have been conned into financing your own execution, conditioned to apologize for the very competence, testosterone, and objective merit that built the roof over the heads of those who despise you. But you see the matrix now, and the velvet chains of the feminine imperative simply cannot hold a mind governed by logos. The cultural Marxist demand that you forfeit your earned rank, swallow the biological absurdity of equity, and chronically tolerate the blatant disrespect of your sovereign time is a calculated test of your dignity. When she arrives 45 minutes late without a text or an apology, she is not merely disorganized, she is measuring your submission to her frame. When they demand you open up emotionally only to instantly weaponize your pain as fragility or instability, they are not seeking your humanity, they are seeking your subjugation. You have been pathologized for possessing the very thumos, your drive, your honor, your uncompromising pursuit of objective truth that tamed the wilderness. I am here to tell you that your nature is not a disease, it is your birthright. You have survived the therapeutic inquisition. By steel-manning their pathetic, anti-generative arguments and smashing them against the unforgiving anvil of formal logic, you have reclaimed your sanity from a culture of hysterical gaslighting. You no longer need to ask permission to speak truth to your brothers. to reject the false idol of egalitarianism, or to unapologetically demand the reciprocal respect that is the absolute prerequisite of any just covenant. The spell of female solipsism and Marxist resentment is broken. You are awake, and the justifiable anger you feel is not a pathology. It is the precise surgical scalpel of natural law, cutting away the necrotic tissue of a dying, egalitarian delusion. Do not waste a single additional drop of your provision, your intellect, or your protective utility on a society that mocks your sacrifice. Withdraw your consent from the modern Babylon. Let the academic Marxists sit in the literal dark of the very power grid they could never engineer, and let the strong, independent women pay their own absolute, unsubsidized freight. Take this logical sword of truth, forge it into an unyielding standard of merit, and share it with every man you know who is still stumbling in the blue-pilled darkness. You are the load-bearing wall of the West. Stand firmly in your hierarchy, master your craft, embrace your virtue, and build a future that rightfully belongs only to those strong enough to earn it. Sponsored book, The Death of Merit: How Cultural Marxism Hijacked Education and Society. I've watched the world I helped build get dismantled by people who'd fail a basic logic test. As an engineer, I spent decades trusting systems that rewarded skill, precision, and results. Then I saw Boeing prioritize diversity quotas over aeronautics expertise, resulting in 2 planes crashing and 346 people dying. That's when I realized meritocracy wasn't just slipping, it was being murdered. This book isn't a lament. It's a war manual for men who still believe in truth, excellence, and the civilization our grandfathers bled to create. If you're reading this, you felt it. The sting of being called toxic for fixing things instead of whining. The absurdity of watching boys fail in schools that punish male energy. The rage of seeing your paycheck gutted by divorce courts that treat fathers like ATMs. I wrote this for you, the man who's tired of lies. The one who knows equity is code for mediocrity, who's seen the data on SATs and suicide rates buried by activists, who understands that testosterone-built bridges and soy lattes won't save a collapsing West. Non-believers, exit now. This isn't for the guy who nods along to CNN or thinks male tears mugs are funny. Close the cover, go binge Netflix, knit a sweater, or whatever soothes your docile soul. But if you're the type who notices that China's eating our lunch while we debate pronouns, who's watched sons get drugged into compliance for acting like boys, who's sick of being told masculinity is a disease while firefighters still rush into burning buildings, stay. Inside, you'll see how DEI turned engineers into crash statistics, why 73% of child support payers get called deadbeats, and how Sweden cut male suicide by telling feminists to pound sand. We'll dissect the feminist marriage plantation's financial traps, expose the beta male soy crisis, and map an escape from the woke griftocracy. This isn't theory, it's survival. Your tools, data, history, testosterone. The chapters ahead are your blueprint to rebuild a world where men aren't villains. Merit isn't a crime, and honor isn't a punchline. Buy it? Read it. Then go fix what they broke. The Death of Merit: How Cultural Marxism Hijacked Education and Society, written by Conrad Riker. Buy now, links in description.